Hello and welcome to another presentation of the Agua Fria Intergroup's Longtimers. These are men and women with 25 plus years of sobriety. Following a few simple steps, they live their lives happy, joyous, and free. Their stories disclose what they used to be like, what happened, and what they're like now. No one who has achieved longtimer status is a saint, but they've been willing to grow along spiritual lines. They seek progress, not perfection. If you're willing to stop drinking and want what our long-timers have, call the Agua Fria Intergroup's 24-hour hotline, 623-937-7770, to get help today and enjoy life happy, joyous, and free.
All right, today another long timer with the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. Today we're pleased to have Greg M. He's from East LA, the Hood.
LAA.
LAA, the Hood. He's been sober for 38 years. He is from the Backyard Home Group, among many other home groups in the greater Phoenix area. And he's a Native American Indian, a Cochiti Indian. And we're very pleased to have you tell our story. And so, Greg, let's hear about you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Greg, and I'm that Skid Row drifter, addict, and alcoholic. My sobriety date is October 23rd, 1983, and I have 38 years, and they've been the greatest influences in spirituality, honesty, love, steps, traditions, and commitment. That's what influences us as long as we learn to keep coming back. And we're going to hear that repetitively for as long as we stay. And that's another statement. Stay in the program. Until we really know what stay means, are we actually going to stay? And in the beginning, for my recovery, as many of us, was complete denial. I could not admit that I was powerless and that the substance and the alcohol ruled my life, and I could not accept that. And I started at the age of, let's say, maybe 12, 13, and it wasn't with alcohol. I started sniffing that glue and, hanging with the wrong crowd. We're being influenced in a negative way with the people that we associate ourselves with, and we really believe that that's a friendship. But that's so negative in the way of looking at it as something positive, because we need companionship. We like to communicate. We like to socialize. Although, in order to do that, we need this substance to be a part of this fake person. And when I first heard that, because everything I share is what I've learned through AA, NA, CA, HA, MA, Wellbriety, Celebrate Recovery. Somebody left a message in the meeting, and there were periods when perhaps I wasn't listening. My mind was somewhere else, but it's stored up here, and somewhere along the line in another meeting, I heard it again. And I'm saying, I heard that before. So now I'm beginning to comprehend that what I do here in meetings, I get them stored up here, and then later in time, as I'm attending meetings, something comes up to influence that presentation of what real sobriety means, and I get that honor to do that. And that's what I'm having today. I have the honor to give a great positive message that's going to influence us only if you want it to change your entire life and get the greatest gift of all, to learn to be you. Because we didn't know how to do that. And like I stated, as I started using and abusing with what I started with, it introduced me to other substances. Because my negative socialization was growing with only people that did what I did, take our lives downhill. Only we didn't see that, and we had this fake enjoyment, this fake happiness, this fake love, this fake companionship. And in order to have this fake feeling, we needed that substance. But the gift is we have this now naturally from the heart, the corazon, where we are at recovery. We feel and we love and we want what you have. And so as I began using and abusing, it interfered with my education. I dropped out of school. I was living with my parents. Well, actually on my mother, because my father was also an alcoholic. And he left us, and so to speak, I was taught the term disowned us. But he was an alcoholic. And I understand this now because I blamed him when I became who I was, that negative person, addictive, alcoholic, and I blamed him. But now I understand, and I love my father, and I forgive what he has done because I understand that wasn't him. He was an alcoholic. And even when I was growing up and my father was sober, he treated me as a parent with love. He used to take me to my baseball league and he would practice with me and throw the ball, and I would be all encouraged. And when I went to play baseball, I hit a home run and I thanked my father for that. And I'm looking in the bleachers, and he's not there. So after the game, I'm looking for my father to go give him a hug and say, "Thank you, Dad." And one of the kids in the park said, "You're looking for your dad? He's over there." And he started laughing at me. He's laying down on the grass, and he peed in his pants. My father was drunk. After he took me to practice, he went with the guys in the park right there, there's a little area where us addicts and alcoholics go, if those of you that are aware of that surrounding in the parks. And that's where he was, and he got drunk. And I looked at him and I started crying. I said, "This is my dad." And there were other friends of mine, and they were laughing at me. You know how much that hurt me? That built that hatred and that anger in my father because of my lack of understanding of his addiction, his alcoholism. So when I went to school the next day, the kids were making fun of me. And I'll never forget the anger that I had with my father. But I'll never forget what my mother told me. Because she loved us addicts and alcoholics in our family. And she said, "Never forget, he's your father and he loves you." So I understood as I got clean and sober what she meant. And she always believed in my father and me. No matter how disrespectful I was, as we all know for those of us that disrespected our family and friends, not believing, but she was like Bill W.'s wife. She always believed in Bill before he believed in himself. And that's my mother. She always believed in me no matter who I was. And I would be home drunk, and she would have the rosary in her hand, and she was saying, "Mijo, what are you doing with your life?" And I jumped back defensively and sarcastically. "It's none of your business." But that's the fake me responding, because I'm not thinking of what I'm saying. The substances influence me to think that way, to be ignorant and disrespectful. And as time went on, and I'm growing up, I'm now an adult, 18 years of age, and I was sentenced by the courts. And I was charged for disturbing the peace and public intoxication. And I was, like I said, 18 years old. I appeared in front of the judge, and the first thing he said is, "Gregory Modis, please take your sunglasses off." And when I took them off, I had stitches. My eyes were closed. It was all black and purple on my face. I was embarrassed to present myself that way, but I put myself there to become that person, looking that way. And he then said, "I see they have you charged here for substance abuse of disturbing the peace and trespassing?" And I said, "Yes, Your Honor." And then he said, "And I see that you have priors." So I'd been charged for this several times. And then again I said, "Yes, Your Honor." And the night before I appeared in court, for some reason, I believed in God. Only when I wanted something would I pray to God. And so I was raised Catholic, so I prayed the rosary 100 times all night. "Dear Lord, please don't give me long time in jail. Please have the judge give me only 60 days, 90 days. But I've learned we don't pray for what we want. We pray to give. That's the gift I have now. And so when I was ready to be sentenced, I said, "Thank you, God," because I wanted to get points with God. And so he said, "I'm going to sentence you to Alcoholics Anonymous." And I looked at him, and back in my mind, I started cursing at him and saying, "You really think I'm one of these stupid alcoholics?" Complete denial. And he said, "You're going to attend 16 meetings. I have a little green card. I want 8 signatures on one and 8 on the other. And I'm going to have a court date to you to return and show me that you've completed those." And here's how I see it now. At that time, I looked at it as punishment. But it was the greatest gift that was ever given to me, to go to AA. You know how I see it now? The judge 12-stepped me. He sent me to Alcoholics Anonymous. And who's to say? He may have even been a recovering addict and alcoholic. And he knew just what I needed. And even if not, he knew just what I needed to send me. So I went, but I didn't want to go in my barrio where I might be recognized in the meeting, like if I'm so well known and I've never been to a meeting in my life before. So I went to another part of my barrio, Boyle Heights. And when I walked into the meeting, it was dim. There were candles on the table. And right away, the first thing I said, to degrade and angry, because I'm, "Look at this stupid meeting. They cannot even afford electricity. They got to use candles." But I didn't know it's a candlelight meeting. We learned that later, you know, but at that period, the ignorance was overpowering, the denial. And then I counted. I'd say there was about 15 people. And up here in my mind, everybody was old. And I'm saying, look at all you old people in here. You don't have nothing to do in life. That's why you're here. Maybe perhaps when I get your age and I don't have nothing to do and I'm old, I'll come by and say hi. But I'm not supposed to be here. And then I heard somebody say, keep coming back. I said, you keep coming back. This is not, I'm here because I have to be, not because I want to be. I'm finding everything I can to deny the fact of who I really am, an ignorant addict alcoholic. And then they closed the meeting, but before they close the meeting, as you all know, there's a basket that goes around. And they say, we ask for support, and we sign court papers and rehab papers and place them in the basket, and we'll give it to you at the end of the meeting. And when the basket was coming around, I'm already saying, I'm not going to leave my card in there. I don't trust. You might steal it from me. See, because I just could not trust any of you for being honest. And then I said, and you want money from me? You mean the judge did not tell me I had to contribute or give you any of my beer money? You think I'm going to give you my beer money for this stupid program? No, I don't think so. So the basket passed. And then when the meeting ended, as you all recall, we hold hands. And I looked, and again sarcastically, saying, I'm not going to touch you. I don't know what you got. I was afraid to connect. I didn't have the influence of what we were about to do. So I had a sweater on and I covered my hands and I held with him. And I'm just, good. I was just with Ann. I didn't know we were going to have to go to church. Everything I said, I recall because I didn't want what you had. But here's the gift. No matter what meeting you go to, newcomers and old-timers, when you're in a meeting and you don't like what you hear or you didn't hear a thing that was said, within that hour, you were getting clean and sober. So it is working, only you don't know it when you're in that mood. So I found that out later as I learned in the meeting, somebody shared that, and I never forgot it. And so as the meeting ended, I went up to the party that was running it, and I recall her name, Lou Ann B. And I met her 13 years later. And I told her, excuse me, ma'am, the judge sent me here and he asked me to fill this out on both sides with signatures. In other words, I was asking her to sign all 16 signatures on it. I thought she didn't know. And she said, and your name is? And I said, there's that hand-touching thing again. What's with these people? Because they like to touch people. I don't know you. I said, my name is Greg. Can you sign it, please? I got to go. And she said, well, Greg, keep coming back. There's that stupid saying again. I can only sign it one time. Hope to see you return. I got it, and I never went back. 18 years old, and I still remember what was stated in the meeting. Because I got it now. But as you and I know, when we're not ready, we're not ready. And it's so hard to understand that you're going to get the greatest gift again, to learn to be you. Yet we don't know how to do that because we've been so fake for so long. It doesn't let us become ourselves. We question everything in the meetings. we deny the fact of being apart because we don't know what we is. That's the first word in step one. We admitted. And that's so challenging to admit that you are that alcoholic and addict and you are powerless. And keeping to come to meetings when in the beginning, many of us don't open up the big book, don't have a sponsor, because we're still trying to do it our way. Well, I don't think I need a sponsor because I'm not as bad as these people. And I don't think the book, all they want is money. They're just trying to sell us this book. The book don't make no sense. I've never read it yet. I'm saying it don't make no sense. Because I'm not ready to admit. And here it is. When I did, I comprehend what we admit really means. That means that we're going to stay in recovery with 12 and 12 and commitment for the rest of our lives. But many of us know how to say we admit and go back out because you don't know what admit means. You just know how to say it. But it took me a while to comprehend and learn that, because the gift of recovery also is to learn to listen. And that's such a challenge when our minds are not capable of listening to what the truth is, because our mind is somewhere else. We're looking at others. We're looking at the clock. It's only 7:30. This half hour is going, so I think the clock is broke. See, you don't have patience. And even at times when I started going and I had to go with getting the signature again years later after this period, I used to say, I've seen people go up there and get their paper and walk out, and it's only like half hour. And the person at the desk usually doesn't say. So I did that. I took my paper, I went over, got it, and I said, I gotta go. I gotta go to my treatment center. And he just nodded his head and said, I got over. See, I didn't have to stay no stupid hour, but guess what, Greg? For that half hour you were there, you got clean and sober. So it's working. Only you don't know that. See, this is something else again I learned, and I hold on to those because now it's my turn to share that, so you can get that message that I'm using to help influence you spiritually. Because like I said, it comes from the corazón, the heart. That's what influences us to become real, to become honest, to become loving, respectful, committed. Committed was a big challenge in my recovery. And as I continued to go, I put myself on the streets at 29 years of age. And what did that to me was the hardest and most horrible period in my life that I ever faced. I lost my mother in a fire on Christmas Eve. You know how much I hated God. That took me completely down, and that ended up downtown Los Angeles, where I was raised. I'm originally from California, Los Angeles, LAA, and then we moved to East Los Angeles, so then I'm from East LAA now. And I lived maybe about 2 miles from where my mother used to take me every morning to have pancakes and waffles. And it was Gina's Cafe. And so many years later, when I ended up on Skid Row, I was sleeping behind the dumpster on a urinated mattress at that cafe. Because it was comforting that my mother used to take me there. And I could be there with my mother, drunk, dirty, filthy. And I wake up in the morning, and the first thing that comes to my mind is, I need a cigarette. So I start looking on the floor for cigarette butts. And who knows where them cigarette butts have been. And I start putting them in my hand, and I get a piece of paper, and I thin it out to roll a cigarette, as you all know how to do when you find paper or whatever, and we don't have money to purchase cigarettes. And so I'm looking for matches, and I knew I had them in my pocket, and I pulled them out, and I had a whole pocket full of lint and a nickel and 3 pennies. Stuck it in my hand, went to the other, and I had my matches. They were split in half, because I used to try to economize with the matches. So I lit the cigarette, and it's starting to fall apart as I'm smoking, and it comes to my mind, maybe you should go to detox at Harbor Light. And Harbor Light was one of the treatment centers downtown Los Angeles on Skid Row. It was run by Salvation Army. And I was there 9 times, but they always took me back. So I knew, and this was my 9th time, I knew that they would let me in. But when I had the change in my hand, I said, well, what I should do is go get a bottle, drink it, drink half of it, because they might not let you in, and that way you have the other half. And that way they'll smell it on you and think you're an alcoholic. You're dirty, filthy, no shoes on. Your hair is all dread. Flies are following you, and you stink. And you're going to walk in there and think because you have a drink, they're going to think you're an alcoholic. You're an alcoholic, Greg, and they know you already. So I had this backpack that I found in the trash bin that I never had anything in it but this bottle that I put. And I took it and went to Harbor Light. Then I drank half of the short dog of Thunderbird and put it in the bag and stashed it way down into the trash bin. Because I know my friends are looking in the bins too, and they might find it. So I went into the Harbor Light, and I looked around, and I said, hey, you guys got any beds? Hey, look who's back. Greg, Skid Row. How was relapse? I don't know. I never been in recovery. Can I have a cigarette? See, I'm there to get what I want. Okay, Greg, but we got to do the paperwork. Can I have some coffee? Yeah, Greg. Is there anything to eat? See, I know the program. I know that they're going to give me what I want. What I don't know is what I want is my recovery. So we went through the process. They filled me out, said, congratulations, you know, Greg, you got to go to detox. You got to stay there 14 days, and then we'll get you into rehab. And I was saying, you ain't going to get into rehab, you're going to get me a job. And I said, can I go and get my backpack? I left it outside because I didn't know you guys were going to let me in. And I didn't want to play it on the safe. Okay, we're going to check the bag, Greg. Oh, yeah, that's fine. I don't got nothing in it. So I went over there, got it, down the other half. I'm in. See, I think I'm getting over, but it's working. I'm going into a program that's going to influence my entire life, to get the honor to have sobriety come here and share my true passage through recovery. So I walked in and I went into my room, and it's all stinky and smoky and dirty, and there's a TV, a black and white back in the day, and it's rolling, and there's an antenna with aluminum on it, and everybody's snoring and sleeping, and see, look at all these filthy people. So then I started waking people up and asking for money because I was going to sneak out and get me a drink because I know the system. And here I am in a detox center panhandling from other bums and skid rowers like me. And I got enough to get a short dog. I saved half, I brought it to him. That was October 21st, 1983. And October 22nd, 1983, I was waking people up. And this time I got a little bit more money, believe it, and I got a fifth of Thunderbird. And I downed it, I came, shared it, slept, woke up in the morning and started waking people up. And they were getting tired. Get away from me, man. You know, you don't leave me alone. I'm going to knock you out. Shut up. You're greedy. And I got so angry that day, October 23rd, 1983, nobody would give me anything for money. So that was my sobriety day. And then for 2 weeks, we stay there. Then we go into treatment. And they start you on antabuse, if you all know what that is. That's a medication that they give you so you cannot drink. It can get you very sick and give you a heart attack. You can die. But there's some very, very ignorant people who still challenge to drink on the antabuse. That's what got me kicked out the 8th time. So here I am. Now I have a plan that when I go into treatment and I start the medication, I'm going to stop on the 5th day and play the part that I'm taking it so then I can get it out of my system, and then I'm not on antabuse when I attempt to drink. See, this is my plan, my ignorance. And see, in Harbor Light, they give you 30 days chip and an 8-hour pass because they want to see how you're going to handle your recovery. And I already had a plan. I'm going to go down to the liquor store, get me a fifth of Thunderbird, go buy me a little stash of whatever, and celebrate. I got 30 days. But on, I recall it was like the 20th day, my roommate told me and said, Greg, Alfred is coming to speak and he's got 20 years. And I looked at him, I said, what's he doing here after 20 years, man? Why does he come back? And I said, well, maybe I'll go. Because we had to attend 3 meetings a week, and I had already attended my 3. But I said, well, if I go to this 4th one, I only have to attend 2 next week. See, so I'm trying to get over on you people with my ignorance. And so I went to the meeting, and I'll never forget what he said. He said, my name is Alfred, and I'm a Skid Row alcoholic, and I bet you're all wondering what I'm doing here after 20 years. I haven't forgotten where I came from. And this program works. And don't you ever forget to come back and reach out to the newcomers. And I was saying, why did he come back? I wasn't listening. And he said, I was here 19 times. And I said, wow. I've been here 9 times. I got 10 more chances. No pendejo. That's his program, not yours. But something that he influenced me with gave me the interest, and up here in my heart and my feelings, I said, I wish I could do what he's doing. I wish I could be up there. I wish I could help influence people. And so I stayed. And when I stayed, that was my first time to the step of the door of recovery. I wasn't opening up the big book. I was going to meetings, I was hearing. I didn't have a sponsor. But the program was working, but I wasn't going in the process that we're all in need to do in recovery. Open up the big go, do the steps, traditions, sponsor, get a sponsor, go to meetings, make a commitment. None of that was there. Instead, I said, I think I'm going to go to college and I'm going to go get a degree so I can become a counselor. And that way, if I'm a counselor, they'll pay me not to drink and use. No, Greg, that's not the purpose of going to school and getting educated and becoming. It's to reach out and help. But I learned that later, the value of what it is to reach out and influence others and be a therapist, because that's my field of work now. I have 37 years of being a therapist in the substance abuse lifestyle. And so when I went to school, I had to get up in the morning, get on the bus, and I'm on Skid Row every morning, downtown. And here's the gift. Here I am, going to school, learning to be educated, not drinking, not using. If I could make it on Skid Row, I could make it anywhere. So I went to school, and somehow I'm still dishonest. I'm selling plasma twice a week. $18 the first time, $20 the second. That's $38 a week for 9 months. That's a pretty good bundle of money. Plus, I'm on welfare. They're paying for the program. I'm still dishonest. But I'm doing something that's influenced me not to drink, because I do believe in myself that I could become educated and go to school. So then my advocate, back in those days, they were not called counselors, they were called advocates. He wrote me a letter, because when I was asked to leave, because I did 9 months, and I'm saying, I'm doing good, but Greg, we need the bed for someone else. You got it now, but up here I didn't believe that I had it. I was afraid to go back out, because I knew I had all that money, I knew I was going to school, and I didn't have a place to live, and I'm going to go find a place probably on Skid Row and end up really. But I'm thinking now, I'm really thinking. So somebody in my room, my roommate said, why don't you go to Halfway House? And I said, what's that? He said, you can live there and you still can pay with your welfare. You can go to work or go to school. I said, where's this at? This is called Claire Foundation. It's in Venice Beach, Santa Monica, and Culver City. So I went, and I took the bus, and I walked into the treatment center, and lo and behold, I said earlier in the first meeting I ever went to, Luann, she was there. She was running the program. She didn't remember me, but I remembered her. And she said, yes, can I help you? And I said, well, I'm in this program at Harbor Light, downtown LA on Skid Row, and they're asking me to leave. So I'm going to school right now, and I got 9 months, and we take Antabuse. And she said, you know, Greg, that's wonderful, and I really want to believe you, but we need some kind of letter to see that you are really there. And she said, if you go down to your treatment center and get a letter from them, you could come to our program and you can stay for as long as you want. I said, just in a letter? Yeah. So guess what? I have that letter today. I held on to it. And I'd like to read it. There it is, Harbor Light. July 30th, 1984. Regarding Gregory, to whom it may concern, this letter is to verify the above named man is a living resident of the Salvation Army, Harbor Light Center for Alcoholic Men. He has been affiliated with this agency since October 21st, 1983. But as you recall, my sobriety date is October 23rd because I was still drinking, only they didn't know it. Mr. Modest has attended our group meetings daily and is enthusiastically involved with Alcoholics Anonymous. He has made great strides in his effort to adopt a new and positive way of life. He has lived up to and exceeded his program commitments. Mr. Modest has been volunteering to help other recovering alcoholics while here, and I have found him to be perceptive and quite dependable. Mr. Modest, with my feelings at this time, are very positive concerning this man's rehabilitation. And I feel with his continued effort and exposure to a constructive way of life that he is on the road of becoming a productive citizen. Whatever consideration you might afford Mr. Modest would be of extreme benefit to him in his continued progress of recovery. Respectfully, Herbert, Advocate, and Grady A., Program Coordinator. And then I went to Claire Foundation and gave that to Luann Dunn. And she said, Greg, you're welcome in our program and you can stay for as long as you want. And I took advantage of that. I stayed 5 years. You know, I understand people go to treatment and do the 30, 90, 60-day Betty Ford programs. I mean, more power to you if you can really do that and get the message. I'm not that type of a person. I need a lot of help because I ruined my life for 17 years. What did I have to lose to stay in program for 6 years? And I got the powerful influence when I met my sponsor there. Grayson Voss, God bless his soul. 50 years clean and sober, he passed away in 1997. And we gave him a meeting when his casket went down. And I have a photo of it. And he taught me what commitment was. When I first met him, we had to give 8 hours a week at the Claire Foundation. I was doing my 8 hours and he used to run a meeting. And at that time, I think he had like 46, 45 years. And he came up to me and I was doing my homework and he said, "What are you doing there, young man?" I said, "Oh, I'm going to school right now and I'm studying. I'm trying to give him the hint, get away from me. Don't be so nosy." And he said, "That's a very, very influential step you're taking in your life. And you're going to get to have the honor to help a lot of people. As a matter of fact, I know a place where you can start learning at the other Claire Foundation, Detox Center." And I said, "Wow, he can get me a job. I like him." And he said, "Do you have a big book?" And I hadn't been reading the big book. "Yeah, I don't need it because I'm going to school because I'm going to help you people. I don't need that stupid big book." And I lied to him. I said, "Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, I have it right next to my bed on a table. And I read a page or two every morning." He said, "You know, that's great, Greg. Guess what?" I said, "What, sir?" He says, "I got a big book for you now." He went to his car and he signed it. And he said, "Now you keep it with you every day in your car." He didn't believe he knows, but he's giving it to me in a way that I can learn to comprehend. And then I said, "Oh, by the way, what about that job you were talking about?" He said, "Oh, tomorrow meet me at Claire Foundation in Santa Monica, Detox Center, and we'll see how we can get you started there." And I said, "All right." So I went the next day and I walked in and he was with the coordinator and coordinator and him were talking. And as I walk in, he says, "Oh, you have another one, Grayson?" Here. And I said, "Oh, he gets a lot of people jobs. How many hours do you think he can handle?" Grayson says, "He looks like a 12-hour. I said, "Oh, 8 hours and 4 hours overtime? That's time and a half. Psh, I love this man." And they said, "Well, you need to sign the papers so you can begin to work over here on this side to volunteer." And I'm over here signing, all happy. And then I look, after I signed it, it said, "Will volunteer." And I said, "Wait, I do 8 hours already, and now you guys con me into doing 12? You guys, I don't think this is working. This is fair." I'm saying all this up here. But when I got that opportunity to work in a detox center, Grayson was there every Sunday morning. I was there from 11 o'clock at night to 11 o'clock in the morning. And by 9 o'clock, Grayson would be there. Here he is, a man, 45 years clean and sober, coming to detox to reach out to people. Because he didn't forget where he came from. And he'd walk in and he'd tell me, "Greg, how is the program working?" And I said, "These people are bad, Grayson. I mean, they don't listen to nothing. These people are really bad, Grayson." And he said, "I'm glad you can see that now. Just think, Greg, you was worse." I wanted to hit him, but he was telling me what I didn't want to hear. And he said, "No, really, tell me who's the hardest person here this morning and gave you a hard time." I said, "That one over there, Grayson. He talks so much, you know what? I'm ready to throw him out." He says, Grayson says, "I'll go talk to him." "Yeah, tell him." They come back. And Grayson tells me, "Greg, I believe you owe this gentleman an apology." And he says, "Yeah." I want to hit him and my sponsor both. Said, this guy conned him into thinking I was wrong. But what he was teaching me is how to apologize. So I said, "Okay, I'm sorry." And Grayson said, "No, Greg. When you make an amends, you have to really mean it from the heart. And whatever the outcome is, whether it's what you wanted or not, you gave your amends. And if they don't accept it, you learn to get stronger with that inside, because you're making a commitment for what you did wrong, not for what you want to give them so they can give you forgiveness, because they may not." So I said, all right. I said, "I apologize for the way I behaved with you this morning." And then Grayson and him look at each other, and Grayson says, "Do you think that sounded real?" And I was saying, "Don't you dare say it's not real. I'll knock you off." And he said, "You know what, Grayson? He sounded kind of real." And then Grayson said, "Forgiveness approved." But he taught me so much. There was a guy that was coming in and out, and I didn't want him in there. I was sick and tired of him coming back. And when Grayson came in that morning, he hugged Grayson, and Grayson said, "You're back. You know what? You're going to make it this time." I'm saying, "Look, this guy's been here 15 times. How could he make it? Why would you tell him that?" Because what Grayson taught me was to believe in everybody, no matter how many minutes, hours, time you got. And I didn't know how to believe in that. And he said, "Greg," because he used to bring fruits and vegetables and nectar juice and cigarettes and vegetables from his garden, and he used to make a stew. And he said, "Greg, I want you to go make a drink, especially for this gentleman here, because he's got the dry heaves." And back in my days, what they do is they put an egg in a mixer with the apricot nectar and mix it. And when you drink it, it coats your stomach to keep you from getting the dry heaves. So I went over to the kitchen and I made that. And then I said, Grayson, there's no beds, man. Because I'm still trying to get him out. And Grayson said, there's always room. And he said, John, and was one of the guys who was graduating the next day. He said, you graduate tomorrow, right? He said, yeah, Grayson. He said, why don't you sleep on the couch for the last night and let this gentleman have your bed? Oh, okay. And then he looked at me and said, you see, Greg, there's always room. I said, no, you're just trying to make me look stupid. Yes, Greg, you are very stupid. You're not listening. And so I made the drink. I came back. I went into the room, and I'll never forget it. The gentleman was knocked out. He was asleep. And Grayson was washing his feet. That's really showing how much you love a person and how much you care and that you haven't forgotten. It reminded me of Jesus Christ when he was carrying the cross and somebody came and wiped the blood from his forehead. Grayson believed in this man. And he taught me that. That's what I got now today. I believe in every one of you that we're going to make it because we admit it and now we came to believe. Right now we're all together because we came to believe. That's step 2. And step 3 is we made a decision. And the decision is to keep coming back. So I comprehend the 3 steps that influence our capabilities to become ourselves. And God bless his soul. Grayson stayed with me. And when I graduated, Claire Foundation, I had a daughter from California, and from Arizona, and I'm living in treatment. That's another story. But I have a daughter that was born during the period I was in recovery. I wasn't there the day she was born. I had finals at LA City College. I went. I was there the second day. And when I left, my daughter, the mother of my child, my best friend I grew up with in East LAA, he became a born-again Christian. Him and his family and my brother, who's cerebral palsy, handicapped, came to my graduation at Harvard. Los Angeles. And Grayson said, I asked him for a letter of reference because I had a degree, I had a certification for substance abuse, and I knew a gentleman like this could give me a great reference. And he said, congratulations, Greg, and you hold on to that woman and that daughter. You got everything. You got recovery, you got education, you got a family, and you got sobriety and recovery and a sponsor. What more can you ask for? He said, but you've been in a program and you've been structured how to live. You have to do this, you have to do that. Now you're going to face the reality of the real world. How to do this, how to do that. The jungle society is waiting for you, but you have it all. Hold on to it. But there's 5 things in life that you really have to comprehend and live, positive or negative. And when they occur, you don't know exactly what to do. He said one of them is death. The other one is health. And the other one is finances. And the other one are jobs. And the last one are relationships. And the closest person you love could hurt you. But I've given you these 5, and you'll know what to do when they happen. And they will happen, positive and negative. And I looked at him and I said, why didn't he tell me? They all occurred. And the one with relationships happened. And the mother of my daughter left me because she didn't trust me. I was with her. We were together for 7 years. But she left me because she remembered how I used to be when I was drinking. And she never forgot that. But I did what I did, and I planted that seed for her not. She believed that I stopped drinking and using, but she didn't believe that I was honest and could stay with one woman. And so she left me. But I planted that seed, so now I have to deal with it. And there's one of the situations, circumstance, Grayson said. And I was going to go back out. I had another job. I was going for my next degree, my BA. And I wanted to go back out. I was so hurt and angry. She took my daughter. She left me. She doesn't trust me. And I got clean and sober. But I remembered what Grayson said. You'll know what to do. And I went to a meeting. And I poured out how I felt. Because this is what meetings are about. We get to share our feelings, and everybody shares that feeling with you. So I got it. And I know what to do now. When anything happens in these situations, go to a meeting. If you can't find a meeting, call your sponsor, call your sponsee, call another recovering addict, or open up that big book and have a meeting with your higher power. There's no fake reason to leave. And when he told me that, he said he would write me a letter. And I'm going to share this letter. And this letter is so influential. And this is for a particular job when he wrote the letter. He said, this is for a particular job, Greg. And you qualify in my books. So here it is, June 15th, 1989. To whom it may concern, I'm writing this letter with regard to a man named Gregory M. I have been a sponsor in the Alcoholics Anonymous for about 5 years. I find him punctual on any job he has had to do. He is polite, always decent, always clean about his language and his person, a good listener and a good learner. I trust him implicitly and would recommend him to anyone. He's an asset to any job that he tackles. He's a friend. He's loyal. And he will never betray a trust. Sincerely, Grace. I mean, this letter, I thought, I don't know if I could give this to a job on a professional basis. They'll know I'm an alcoholic. They'll know I had a sponsor. But I'm not listening to what he's saying. This is a particular job. And this is the job that I'm applying for right now. I want to be an AA member with you. And I hope I qualify for this job. That's Grayson. He had this touch, and he taught me commitment. Here's the greatest gift of all. He told me and my sponsee, my first sponsee I first got, Grayson gave him to me. He was in detox, 2 weeks clean. And Grayson said, congratulations, Greg. You did the steps, you did the traditions, you did the promises, and now you're ready to be a sponsor. I was honored. A man with this many years believing I could sponsor. And he said, and I got your first sponsee. I said, all right. He said, John. And I said, John, I don't like him. John and him connected when John was there the first day. And he was only 2 weeks clean and sober. And I said, how did he con him into me becoming his sponsor? This guy's good. He conned this man. This man believes in him. And he's only got 2 weeks. But I'll never forget what he told me. He said, Greg, you hold on to John. He's going to make it. And I said, look at this, man. He conned my sponsor into thinking he's going to make it. And to be his, I'm going to kick him out. I don't want him. John and I, he is still my sponsor. He's in Vegas. 34 years clean. But he put me and John together in a meeting once. And after the meeting, he said, I'm going to teach you two what commitment really means. I'm not leaving now, but I will pass away eventually. But when I go, I would like for you to bring me a meeting to my tombstone. And right away, I'm still that not listening. I think he's asking for a little too much there. 1997, when he passed away, we gave him a meeting. And to this day, when I go to California, and I'm going on the 15th of May, I'm going to speak at Venice Beach. It's an AA meeting I helped start, me and John, my sponsor, and it's still running to this day. They want me to come back and speak. And every time I go to Cali, because I go a lot, I run a meeting there. Skid Row Drifters, downtown Los Angeles, on 5th Street in San Pedro. It's called the Nickel. Me and my wife, God bless her soul, she has 30 years. We go and run a meeting every third Saturday of every odd month of the year. Because that's where I got the message too. And somebody, while I was waiting outside, that's Clancy's. If any of you know who Clancy is, that's his mission. And he's gone. He kicked me out 2 times from that program back in my day. But I know when I was there, somebody came and brought us food. A man brought us ham sandwich, a little bag of chips, and a little carton of milk. And he fed us all, and I said, I wish I could do that. So when we go run that meeting, we go to Jack in the Box. They still sell 2 tacos for $1 over in East LAA on Soto and Olympic. I'll go buy about $40 worth, so I'll get about 80 tacos. Then the people I come with, we buy. And after the meeting, we go outside. And all the people on the sidewalk are laying there. And just like that gentleman, good evening, everyone, I brought you something. And I hope you are all comfortable with what we have. And they give the food out, and I have a prayer that I give them, that I put together. And it's called the 12-Step Serenity. We admitted we were powerless and came to believe a decision as we understood him, made a moral inventory of ourselves and to another human being to remove our shortcomings, made a list of all persons we harmed wherever possible and when we were wrong, promptly admitted, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, and to practice these principles in all our affairs, and grant me the serenity and wisdom to know the difference. And this is what I give when my friends give the food. And I gave it to this one gentleman, and he got it and he threw it and said, "Give me another taco." And this is what I said to myself. That's you, Greg. That's you. Hey, you want another soda and fries with that? Then he says, "You got $1? You can buy all these hamburgers. You gotta have money." I said, "Here." I gave him $1. He said, "Can I have a cigarette?" I said, "I'm sorry, I don't smoke." But that was me, man. That's me right there. But I know, I believe in him. Because maybe he'll go back and pick it up and read it. Or maybe he'll think the way I do. You know what? I wish I could do that. I wish I could help people. Maybe I'll say, I can do that. But these are the gifts and honor and faith we get in our recovery. And I was there in Valentine's Day in California. That's when they asked me to come and speak in May. And I went to go visit Grayson at the cemetery. And believe it or not, I was there in October of last year on my sobriety, because my wife spoke at the Venice Beach meeting, because she has 30 years and her sobriety is in same month like mine. Hers is on the 20th, mine is on the 23rd. And I'm jealous because hers is before mine, but I'll get past that. But after the meeting, I had my medallion and I left it at the tombstone with Grayson. I got 38 years. Thank you, man. God bless you. And thank you, Sally, his wife. And me and my wife gave him a meeting. And when I went in February and Valentine's, the medallion was still there. So I'll be going again in May and I'm going to go visit him. Hopefully it's still there. And we take him flowers. And we pray and have a meeting with him. Because he taught me what commitment was. So I know I will always go to give him thanks, knowing that he's influenced me to help reach you so you can get what I have and we get to do this together. And when I left Claire Foundation, I wrote a letter of appreciation, and I'm going to read that now. It's titled, "To all Claire Foundation Incorporated. I have been a resident of the Claire Foundation for the past 5 years. Within this period of time, I have seen but many come and go. It is now finally my turn to leave, and perhaps it took a bit longer with me in taking that step back into the jungle society. Although now, at this point in my life, I have gained a positive tool, sobriety. It has also led to education, which will now continue at Tempe University, which I didn't know was ASU, Arizona. Along with this, a family of my own, which is of a 1-year-old daughter and an honest girlfriend who is willing to accept the new me. With all this, it is with my sincere gratitude to Claire Foundation, for it was of your sincere understanding, patience, which helped me lead toward this positive direction. Without that support, I would not have been able to accomplish these goals and have courage to change the things we can. My feelings of gratitude are also of your consistency of self-supporting through our own contributions, and which will always be in my prayers of thought. And now, with this, I would like to leave you with my true meaning of gratitude. And G for God. R, receives. A for all. T for testimonies. I for in. T for trustful. U for unity. And D for devoting. And E for eternity, which says God receives all testimonies in trustful unity, devoting eternity. And I learned how to express my true feelings with appreciation. And so I really want to share this entire presentation to all of you to hold on to and not let go. Because the gift is we get to do it together, and I have the honor to do it together with my wife in recovery, Jewel. And please keep coming back, because it does work when we work it one day at a time. Con Dios. And I pass.
Greg, 38 years of sobriety, great story. And indeed, you prove that if you want what we have, keep coming back. It works if you work it. Thank you very much.
And thank you again, Con Dios, for allowing me to share.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah.
Hey, is this mic on?